Good evening, Free Enterprise fans, and welcome to another exciting elimination match here. My name is Xenocat, and I'm joined in the booth tonight by Vitasia. How are you doing tonight?
I am just absolutely hyped. We're finally at the final round of Swiss, where we're seeing some of these elimination matches, as you said. Both these runners, Smaepdii and Revenant, 1-1. The winner continues on, has their hopes continue to make it to table stages. The loser, though, does go home.
Yeah, and it's both of our runners are definitely going to be really hoping to get this win here. It looks like we got rickrolled both by our objectives and by Revenant's naming scheme.
Revenant. Oh, Okay, I'm trying to figure out what's going on with Smaepdii's, though.
Yeah, I don't recognize Smaepdii's names.
Oh, those are Final Fantasy 14 characters. I see Alphino, I see Grano, I see Sherbert. Those are probably references to other games that Final Fantasy 14 stole, but I'm going with it.
Probably correct. I don't know. I haven't played Final Fantasy 14. Neither of our runners showing us the real objectives, but it looks like our tracker has updated them with complete antlion nest, unlock the sewer, and the vanilla white spear altar. What do you make of these objectives, Sotasia?
Well, honestly, it feels like it could go one of two ways. Antlion Nest is something that's very early on that most runners end up doing. Everything else, vanilla white spear means just a darkness crystal to go, and we'd like to see that at any rate. Baron Sewer Key, just requires the Baron Key. It's one of those objective sets that, this race could be over very quickly. We could see like a 45-minute seed and be done with it and out early to finish up, early Tuesday drinks. Or this is something that could really take us for a ringer and have everything buried on the moon or behind a couple different fetch quests, and we'll be here for 2 hours. And I don't think there's any in between with this flag set.
Yeah, that Baron Key could be hiding somewhere really rude, along with both the Legend and Adamant, so it'll be interesting to see where the key items end up. And it looks like we do have a starting Cecil. What do you make of this starting Cecil on this flag set?
I'm a fan of Cecil. I imagine, different runners have different philosophies around Cecil. Some people like to get rid of him in order to more easily manage the agility that he puts off, because he is the agility anchor regardless if he's in your party. Otherwise, it's a little bit more easy to manage. But he also has some of the best weapons in the game. So I like him personally. I can understand how some people might be a little bit concerned, especially if it's a Jet Seed.
Yeah, Cecil is a very divisive character in this flag set. But it looks like our runners are off, and we'll be seeing who's this Cecil is paired up with and what our starting key item is. We have so much vanilla. That is a vanilla start with just a gold apple. This is not a party that really needs that extra HP, so we don't have any direction to go.
Yeah, so this is probably going to incentivize doing a lot of character checks early, bringing some guidance, maybe opening some treasure chests, getting our party set. And then that Antlion Cave is, like I said, kind of a very common opening play to make. I know there's some memes out there about fading the Antlion Cave, but that's not realistic under most circumstances, and certainly not in this particular right.
Yeah. The Antlion is just such an easy check, and the loot there, while it's not amazing, is still very nice in the early game. And speaking of loot, we have Revenant heading into Baron Inn, while Smaepdii has decided to head over to loot the Watery Pass and finds a Tella. another vanilla Tella, or another vanilla character. Are these characters even shuffled?
I mean, I don't know about you, but I enjoy me some vanilla ice cream as much as anyone else. That, as far as I'm concerned, that means, our roses are in bad places then.
Yeah. That was a Revenant picking up a very spicy defense sword from the back of Baron. That's going to really get Kane's damage going.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
it looks like Smaepdii was thinking about just walking out of the Watery Pass, but has decided to head deeper in. The Watery Pass, being an out-of-the-way location, has better loot than most locations like Baron or Troya or any of those town locations that are very easy to get to. Finding some Zeus gauntlets here, with that defense sword from Baron, if Revenant decides to keep looting, that'll really get Kane off the ground.
No, absolutely. And, with Tella, that makes the decision to go a little bit deeper into this cave a lot easier, honestly, because Tella naturally has the exit spell as soon as he joins your party, and you can full clear this first dungeon as long as you don't walk out the other side of the cave. Quick exit and you're done. So this is a really easy way to get a lot of really good loot for this early game. In fact, I think that Defense Sword Kane is probably going to carry the party even through Mount Ordeals at this point in time.
Yeah, especially finding that Dwarf Axe, that's the only weapon that allows Kane to be back row glitched, which is really nice if you want to keep your Kane nice and safe while he's doing all that damage.
It'll also be nice if we get Cecil online, because you can camp him in the back row and then use his cover ability, and he just becomes an absolute force of nature. The things that he is able to kind of cheese at that point in time, covering people, any sort of physical hard-hitting boss late in the game, becomes trivial if you have a back row glitch Cecil that can just cover everyone.
Yeah, and the Dwarf Axe is one of 2 weapons, I believe, that Cecil can equip that will lower his agility and kind of mitigate the vanilla agility flag a little bit if the runners choose to leave Cecil down as an anchor.
Oh, and Smaepdii is like, oh, I want to buy life potions. And he looks at his inventory and goes, but I don't want to sell anything.
Yeah, ditching that starting gold apple totally makes sense. Everything else in that inventory is just too precious for that Kane.
There's another Kane taking a nap in the Kaipo spot. So, I don't know if we need 3 heavy armor guys just swinging swords about, but if we want it, it's there eventually.
Yep. And Revenant looting the Damsian treasury, finding a black belt and some Dragoon gauntlets, which, while the Dragoon gauntlets don't give the strength of the Zeus gauntlets, they are great for defense, and that black belt will get Kane's damage boosted even more.
So Smaepdii does go ahead and initiate the back row glitch on Kane. Meanwhile, Revenant does find second Tella. Okay, so we're out of the vanilla habits now. With second Tella in Damsian, that's 1 Tella, fantastic. First Tella is amazing early game. 2 Tellas, waste of breath.
Yeah, Tella's utility really comes from just having access to the wide suite of spells that he gets once you complete Mount Ordeals, and having 2 people with that access is not as important, but Smaepdii climbing up hobs and gets rewarded with an edge.
That's a great pickup. That's an out-of-the-way location that is not great, not necessarily, I mean, something that a lot of people end up passing up, but that edge is going to be able to do work early.
Yeah, and especially since Smaepdii hasn't picked up that defense sword from Baron, he's going to probably be relying on this edge for most of his early game damage. Meanwhile, Revenant is diving into Antlion, finally getting that Kane all set up. And we'll be seeing who the boss down here is very shortly.
As Zoe is pointing out in chat that Smaepdii didn't pick up that defense sword. So it is even more important for Smaepdii at this point to have that edge online. Meanwhile, Revenant is showing us Antlion Cave with the Evil Wall. This is going to be our first key item check.
Yeah.
Oh, all the weapons for Edge available on the Edge Mountain.
Yep. Not completely endgame weapons, but definitely a significant damage upgrade for Edge. And that full moon will let Smaepdii back Rogue Witch that Edge. And we have a Legend Sword in Antlion.
Oh, this just got spicy.
So yeah, that confirms that fading Antlion is probably a bad idea on this seed, as Antlion is 100% required.
Alright, so we are, let's see, 2 key items from Go Mode, everyone. That's all, just 2 key items. That's all we need.
Yeah, at this point, all we're looking for is the Darkness Crystal and then either the Baron Key or the Adamant. Looks like Revenant is headed back to Baron, is going to be taking on this Baron Inn, where Sid is having coffee with a Leviathan.
You know, like you do. Let's go have brunch with the king of summon monsters. That's just a thing that people do in this world, isn't it?
Yeah, why not? Leviathan does not stand a chance. That spot has barely any AP, and it looks like Sid has summoned Odin to fight us.
Huh. That's, I mean, now's a nice time to have Tutellas, I suppose, because you have at least some lit ones that you can cast, which are doing ad damage. I just don't know if he's pumping out the DPS really to get through this.
Yeah, and this spot, while it is slow, it hits very hard. And if Tella had not dodged that attack, it likely would have been a one-shot. Meanwhile, Smaepdii getting through that evil wall with no issues is going to be picking up his Legend Sword very shortly.
Let's get through. Okay, so we pick up a Sid and a Pan. Okay.
You never hate to see that Pan on the overworld. It means that we know we're not going to have to double dip the Sylvan Cave, and we're not going to have to triple dip Fagul, which is always really nice when you can get all those checks in one loop and not have to visit places more than once.
I mean, if that doesn't heavily incentivize Revenant at this point in time just to make a beeline for Mount Ordeals right now, I don't know what else would. Let's try to single dip all of the Fagul.
Meanwhile,
Oh my
we have
God.
vanilla twins in Mysidia. Not... I believe those are that's the vanilla orientation, too.
Yeah, because Palom came busting in later. Oh my goodness. What hath we wrought with this seed?
That'll be... That's our first white mage of the seed, I believe, so... I'm sure that Smaepdii will appreciate that. And Palom is great for early game damage once you get him just a couple of levels.
So the question, that's always kind of bugged me in the classic sense of classes. Is Tella a red mage?
I think he is. He's great he's okay at both black magic and white magic, but I mean,
Yeah, but he's not fantastic at either.
He's not
a very
fantastic
high
at
level
either.
red mage.
It makes sense. And we see another Palom on Ordeals, Revenant ditching one of those Tellas for him. Makes sense. You don't really want two Tellas, and Palom is great for early game damage, as I mentioned before.
Absolutely. So Smaepdii is also making the Ordeals play. So both runners are now up on Ordeals. Revenant does have one additional key item check done, having already done Baron. Has a Sid. I think I'd rather have an Edge in Smaepdii's case. So I like Smaepdii's party comp better. But I think Revenant has done a little bit more planning and organizing around his right. So I don't know. It's kind of an interesting party setup, and that might make the difference going forward from here on.
Yeah. And Smaepdii's Kane only has a Blizzard Spear instead of the Defense Sword, since he did not loot Baron, so... While Smaepdii does have that edge to be doing extra damage, Smaepdii's Kane isn't in the same position that Revenant's Kane is. I believe he did change it to the Blizzard Spear. At least I know I saw a Blizzard Spear in Smaepdii's inventory.
Yeah, I think he purchased it specifically, yeah. And he wouldn't...
I mean, that's not spear damage. And it looks like Smaepdii did get through this plague fight first.
Yep, Revenant is using life strats in order to get... Oh!
Almost
a little
goes down.
slow, yeah.
And Mylon has decided to let Plague handle us first and hide behind Plague, and is going to be challenging us at the back attack spot today with his friends.
Yeah, Mylon just decided to do the cha-cha slide and slide to the left. No, anyway.
Looks like Revenant did make it through that plague fight. With only Tella down. Not too bad. Tella does not need a whole lot of experience to be very useful. He can be quite useful at his base level. All he really needs is to get through ordeals. And he's going to be starting up his Mylon fight. Meanwhile, these lit ones are actually doing a number on Smaepdii's party, taking out that Palom.
Yeah, it's a little bit odd because you don't see Mylon Z cast a lot of spells, but he has, a little bit higher magic attack than his previous location there. Smaepdii does get through it. Meanwhile, Revenant is working his way slowly through it.
Yeah, the magic stat at the Mylon Z spot is surprisingly high for this point in the game.
I missed that key item. Oh,
Looks
package.
like there's a package, and Mylon Z decided to do the little slide as well and slid into the crystal room.
Everyone slid to the left. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So from here, obviously both runners were trying to fade Fabul. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to. That seems that we're going to be forced that direction for this particular seed. The nice thing is, in any sort of randomizer run like this, is that if you're forced to do it, that means there's no penalty for doing it. So, yeah, It's not great that you have to double dip it, but you know that your opponent's going to have to as well.
Yeah. I mean, there could still be a spicy demist hiding in... I believe neither of our runners have checked either the waterfall or the mist cave, holding our underground access, but most likely underground access is in Fabul at this point.
How spicy would that be? An elimination match in the Magma route, which this Magma group has been just absolutely stacked. You know, absolutely full respect for all runners who even made it to this point in the race, in the tournament. But knowing that if something spicy like a demist in, of all places, I'm just gonna throw out there, let's say Tower of Zod, which would be horrible. That being the gate and kind of the bottleneck spot.
I mean, there is always that package check. There's a boss hiding there. That could be Demonist too.
Which would you check first? Worst case scenario, if you're running this seed, you're like,
If I've already done every other key item check and I've checked the 2 easy checks, I'd probably sit through package first.
Just thinking that the seed is guiding you, so you have to go this way.
Yeah, it's just because it's an extra check that's available, and Threemus, I'd be gambling that, you know, my opponent probably is going to go up to Zot because that's a little bit faster. But I'm gonna sit through this package check, and, you know, maybe the character is someone I want. Although with this party, it's pretty unlikely.
Alright, so Revenant is starting his fight, and that, well, all of that was just made moot. There's Demist.
Yeah, so we know that either this Demist that is attacking Fabul or the Fabul defense reward itself will have our way underground. And looks like Revenant is keeping this Cecil down, maybe going to be using him as an anchor with that Dwarf Axe.
Well, I mean, that's one way to do it. Keeping him down and, as the anchor is not the worst idea. And if you end up finding a really nice weapon later, say an Excalibur or a Crystal Sword, popping him back up and then doing a grind fight immediately after slingshots him up very, very nicely after so many levels.
Yeah. And looks like Smaepdii got through the Baron Inn with no issues, got his pan. He's going to be doing a check for Demist in the Mist Cave. We know this is not where Demist is, just Vigen here. Although that is a very nice boss to see out of the boss pool.
Oh, is Smaepdii checking package? Second Cecil there. Okay, says, no, I'm good.
Yeah. Although, leaving that Cecil there means that Smaepdii isn't totally committed to being Cecil-less this seed. Could potentially, with a Crystal Sword, come back and pick up that Cecil later. And it looks like we have a hook seed.
Well, I mean, we still have to turn in that wonderful Mist Dragon, so Rydia's mother will have something. Probably a hook seed. Let's be realistic here.
Yeah, once you find one way underground, the odds of finding the other way underground just drop so low. I mean, it's worth going up and making these checks, because if it's a Magma key, that would save a lot of time, but this point is very likely to be a hook seed. We see both of our runners doing some shopping in Fabul. Smaepdii on his way into Fabul defense, and Revenant on his way out. And Revenant is going to give us our Demist check. And that's just a spoon.
I mean, just a spoon, but keep in mind that just a spoon is still a key item, and we're relatively early into this match, and we've already got 5 key items, sub half hour. So it's honestly, the race to 10 key items so you can really begin your grind in earnest is off to a great start right now up to this point.
Yeah, and although neither of our racers have seen an Eddy, which would be able to equip that spoon since the spoon flag is on and turn him into actually quite a good physical attacker, Smaepdii can take advantage of throwing that spoon with the edge to potentially speed up this hook route.
True. If you're in a spot where you're looking particularly hard, I mean, if there's a harder boss there that you're worried is going to burn you down, that spoon will really make pretty quick work.
Smaepdii doing something that I've certainly done many times, walking up the tower to say hi to Sheila and then realizing, wait, I haven't been underground yet. I
think we've all done that. Yeah, we've all done that at some point. We'll say one thing that strikes me about both of these runners right now is they are both doing a lot of looting. I've been one of those people that I recognize that one of my faults in my runs is that I loot too much, so I've been actively trying to reduce that amount. So I'm looking at how much they're looting and I'm going, my goodness, I don't have a problem. Maybe I'm the norm.
I mean, it's very hard to turn down loot on this flag set, especially when all of the treasure chests are just so good.
It's true, and especially when it's a hook route, there's a certain temptation to get as much stuff as you possibly can early on, because you want to be able to sell as much stuff as you can by the time you get to Evelyn Cave, because of all the great J items that are just waiting for you at this item shop.
Yeah, it looks like Smaepdii looking for weapons, either looking for some elemental claws to take advantage of some elemental damage with that edge, or just looking for a better weapon for that cane.
So I said all those great J items that are available in the Evelyn item shop, and we have hourglasses, so that's nice. I mean, great, but there's nothing to go with it. You're hoping for something else other than that.
Hourglasses can be very useful, though. They will make the trap chest down here particularly free, which can be very nice to get a little bit of extra experience before moving on. And we find ninja swords in Cave Eblon. Very expensive, but very worthwhile for that edge.
Yeah, maybe something to keep in the back of your mind. If we don't need to reposition the hovercraft later to turn in the rat tail, something to come back to. Neither of these runners, I mean, Smaepdii's the one with edge. I don't know if he's going to be able to afford even a single ninja sword, especially at the expense of the hourglasses right now. If you had to choose one ninja sword or 5 hourglasses right now, I'd probably choose the hourglasses.
Yeah, that ninja sword will run you about 66,000 gold. Although Smaepdii is pretty close with just the amount of money he has. And is likely to be able to sell some stuff off to get a ninja sword if he wants to. Ooh, that hook. That is a free boss for Revenant at this hook Ruby spot, but not so free for Smaepdii.
Yeah, that karate fight. If you have a Cecil, it's relatively free. I think he kicks twice, and then you hit him with Cecil, and he goes, ouch, and you're done. But yeah, I don't know.
Without that Cecil, you've got to chew through that spot's, I think, 24,000-ish hit point, 25,000 hit points. It's a lot of hit points at that Ruby spot.
It is. It's a lot, and it's rough. It can be difficult at that point in time. So, I mean, Revenant is looking good right now. Ha! Take all that, Cecil haters.
Yeah, it looks like Smaepdii did find a curse string for sale, and I believe this is Troya and is stocking up on illusions. Those will help out a lot against this karate fight, especially since he does have a white mage to heal up from those kicks. You know, that is an interesting point Zoe Vermillion bringing up in chat. Smaepdii, upon seeing that karate, could exit out, run through the package, and take that Cecil that's he left behind there. But the package is such a long cutscene, and having to re-walk through the whole cave, I don't know if it's faster just for that one fight. And then you're also committing to having Cecil the whole seed.
Yeah, I would have a rough time committing to that. I mean, I think when you have those illusions, you just bite the bullet and say, okay, yep, this is what we're going to do. Yeah, I think once you've made the commitment to a certain strategy, unless it's an absolute deal breaker, then you stick to it. And you can get through it. It won't be as easy with Smaepdii's party, but you know, he's also having an easier time because he found that early edge. So, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that early edge and having access to white magic with Porum is definitely going to be helpful for his hook route.
True. I mean, we have, you know, our red mage extraordinaire Tella. I'm just gonna use red mage. Oh!
Oh no!
Oh no, Smaepdii! Oh!
Oh no!
So, if you exit the Enterprise in the same frame, you cannot enter towns, caves, or whatever. And he just walked right through town to the other side, where he has the package, by the way. So he can't just walk through town. Oh my goodness.
Oh my god. It only happens, I believe, on the very first time you exit. You launch the Enterprise, after you launch the hovercraft, and after you get the cutscene after the super cannon room, and maybe after you launch the Falcon. It only happens when you're launching a new vehicle, but it's very unfortunate. Smaepdii is now going to have to sit through this whole package cutscene just to get back to his airship.
And by the way, I hope he didn't want to do any more shopping over there in Kaipo, because he can't enter the town again without initiating another huge sequence.
Yeah. So he doesn't have to take this Cecil at this point. He can totally not go to Kaipo, and Cecil will be dragged along through the seed unconscious as a bonus party member that's just waiting for him to go to Kaipo to pick him up, but ooh, this can't feel good for Smaepdii.
No, absolutely not. And this will be really kind of interesting from this point forward. You know, Revenant has been kind of moving. Again, I still like Smaepdii's party setup from top to bottom a little bit better than I like Revenant's. So it'll be interesting to see, because from this point forward, Smaepdii is playing like he's behind. 100%.
Yeah. Oh, looks like Smaepdii was heading to Mist to check that demist item. To answer a question in chat, entering Kaipo at all triggers the event. So Smaepdii at this point cannot enter Kaipo without being forced into the inn, getting the cutscene, having to fight a very easy boss, and being forced to make a decision on that Setzel.
So first boss from King and Queen Evelyn spot is going to be Bahamut. So it's kind of free. Setting up a safety star veil does move pretty fast, but after that, there's no experience. You just really have to have one person survive this, and you don't have to worry about experience because then you can go and get immediately refilled up.
But the magic at this spot is not high enough for Bahamut to kill itself with just one Mega Nuke. So going to have to do some extra damage here. And Odin is not going to do it.
His wall is still up from Cecil, so he'll get the second Mega Nuke. Still not enough damage. Wow.
Nope. This bot has, I believe, 6,000 HP, and those Mega Nukes are only doing 2,400 each. But gets Tella up, gets a wall up on Tella, so should be through this. Or that swing from Cecil will do it.
On the off chance, why not? And then here is this relatively easy karate fight. Now, he'll hit a little bit hard here.
Yeah, the physical attack at this spot is not as high as the King Queen Avalon spot, but it's still nothing to be ignored. Although it looks like it's not doing too much damage to Revenant's party with the kicks.
Palom does go down though, and that's going to be rough because you really want your Palom to be alive to be able to soak in this hefty chunk of experience. To get him really online, as soon as he learns Quake is when he really becomes... he's known as Quake Kid for a reason.
Yeah. And it looks like Revenant gets through no problems, but with Palom down, missing out on all the experience from this spot. Meanwhile, Smaepdii is about to get the news that there's a free fight waiting for him if he goes back and picks up that Cecil from package.
Well, at least he's already started the sequence, so it won't be as long of a time commitment.
Yeah. With the initial mist burning cutscene already viewed, it actually doesn't seem like it's such a terrible idea to go back to Kaipo and grab Cecil. But we did see a Dark Knight Cecil at the top of Lower Babel, and Revenant at about 34.5 minutes is launching his Falcon and is the first of our runners to make it underground.
So at this point, there's a few different things that you might want to do, but it does look like Revenant is following kind of the time-honored wisdom of the day anymore, which is check your freebies. We have the pan. Check your freebies right now.
Yeah. There's no better time to do this check. You walk right down the Sylph Cave, wake Yang with the pan. You get a key item. Go back to Sheila. Tell Yang's in the underground. You get another key item. Give the pan back to her. You get a third key item. Don't put this off. It's so many checks, and there's no bosses required. It's a very logical play.
Oh, well, hey, Darkness Crystal. That's one of the two key items we were looking for. So,
Yep.
Nice.
That is going to give our runners access to the moon, and that vanilla white sphere altar. So at this point, with just the Adamant or the Baron key being the last key item they need, Revenant is heading down to visit the Fame March. Probably just going to grab the free key item that's sitting in a chest down here where the rat tail is in the vanilla game. and might peek the bosses, but I don't expect he'll take on either of the bosses unless one of them is particularly free.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. The other thing I might do, in fact, I'm not going to say might, I'm going to say will, is check the item shops just in case there's freebie sirens available, so we can avoid. I know a lot of people love the D machine grind, but you're not in a setup where you really need to slingshot anyone up right now. So it's an easier grind if you can find some sirens somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. You definitely want to find sirens on this flag set. They're almost guaranteed to be in one of these gated shops, so it definitely makes sense to check all of these shops. Because if you can find a stack of sirens, you can get all the experience you need to get yourself to those Z levels and just steamroll through the rest of the seed. Just a Bahamut summon from the Fey March freebie, by the way, which, without Iridia, ends up turning into a nice chunk of cash.
Neither of those look particularly free. With Calgrena fight and Rubicante, probably, maybe elements.
Yeah. The dolls could be free if that Alum had Quake, but I don't believe that Revenant's Alum was quite up to Quake levels, and it would still require a lot of finagling things around, so it makes sense to leave that alone when, you know, you've got 2 free key items waiting for you when you go back up to Fagul.
And Dwarf is a patent lawyer.
The seed has been validated.
We need patent lawyers out there. It's not the most glamorous work out there, but
Revenant finding a sorcerer robe in the Tomro armor shop. That's going to give that Palom, I believe, 5 more to both Wisdom and Will, as well as being a very good piece of magic defense gear. Smaepdii, meanwhile, has threw the Mad Ogre chest, gets just a Leviathan summon. That's probably where Revenant picked up his Leviathan summon. And it looks like... Okay, Revenant's going to be checking the Dwarf Castle shop, still looking for sirens, most likely.
not there. I mean, we still have the last shop that they possibly could be in is up on the moon, and that's probably something that you're going to check. Otherwise, you're going to go to the moon, check, peek that character spot if you're not terribly happy with your party. And then I got to imagine we're on our way to a D-Machine grind before long.
Yeah, especially since Revenant doesn't have that edge, so he doesn't have access to stealing sirens from the trap chest in Lower Babel. Meanwhile, Smaepdii has gotten to his Bahamut fight. With multiple Star Veils set up, Bahamut should take care of itself. And meanwhile, Revenant is launching his big whale, and maybe getting a look at the Moon Shop and the Moon character. Yeah, even with 4 walls up, Bahamut not managing to get quad 9s on that Mega Nuke.
That just shows how low that magic damage spot is and how the game designers meant that to be more of a story fight more than anything with Edge and his parents. Spoiler alert, by the way, if you haven't played the vanilla game. Zoe does make a good point. Probably would be a good idea to go check Sheila for Sheila 1 and 2 before you go up on the moon, because if you know you're in go mode, where, if Sheila gives you the Baron key, for example, or an adamant, go turn those in so that once you leave Earth, you're not coming back.
Yeah. But it looks like Revenant is just heading up to the moon after quickly checking those Mysidia characters and seeing those vanilla twins. Resets out because he's not interested in either of them at this point, although I would maybe consider taking that for him since that is the only white mage we've seen so far.
Coffins and Starveil, so it does look like D-Machine grind is going to be our preferred grind at this point.
Yeah. To answer the question in chat, Revenant has not yet turned in the pan. He's done the Sylphs, has not been back to chip in, checked the Feymarch freebie, went shopping in Tamra and Dwarf Castle, raised the big whale, and has not been back to Sheila. Meanwhile, Smaepdii getting a whole bunch of blinks up. This fight should be pretty safe. The kicks aren't doing that much damage, and with blinks up, Young's sword swings won't be a threat.
So if you're Smaepdii right now, in addition to that horrible missed clip that he went through, and I truly do feel bad for him for that spot. So you did the miss clip, so know you're already not in a great position there. Then you find this fight, which with 2 Cecils that you ditched, you gotta worry that your opponent picked up a Cecil and this was a free fight for him. How far behind are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling pretty far behind. Not far behind to skip checking those freebies, but I would maybe consider making that keyless tower play, especially seeing the Dark Knight Cecil at the top, which is not going to be a terribly long fight, before checking Dwarf Castle.
It does look like Revenant is setting up his D-Machine fight. So how the D-Machine fight is set up is there's a wonderful chart out there that was created, I believe, by Twisted Flax, another one of our community members. Effectively, you count the steps outside of Baron, because in these flag sets, you can't run away from fights. You just have to complete whatever fight as soon as you can. So you turn random encounters on, you start stepping, and you start counting your steps. Once you reach a certain, on step number whatever, where you hit the encounter, it will give you a number and a spot that says, okay, you need X number of fights here outside of Baron before the next fight that you have, if it is up in a certain room in the Giant, will automatically trigger a fight for D-Machines. Now, this is the preferred setup. There are other methods of doing it if you can run away from fights, but since we can't, this is kind of the easiest setup that you can possibly do at this point in time. So kudos to Twisted Flax and all the work that he put in for that. There's other things for like Red Mac Giant fights and all sorts of different other RNG manipulations for setting up getting the right grind fight for you. Just fantastic work for the community and setting all that up, especially for this particular tournament.
Yeah, and I mean this manipulation can be a little bit tricky to pull off. It's very easy to miscount your steps or do something wrong with it, but if you do everything right, it works. But if it looks like Revenant has counted his steps correctly, has finished the manipulation, and is going to be heading off to head up to the Giant, most likely, and do his D-Machine grind.
I didn't see Revenant turn his encounters back off. I really, really, really hope he turns his encounters back off before he tries to walk through this Giant.
I think he did, but I could be wrong.
I may have just turned and looked at the screen at the wrong time, so it's possible that he did.
Meanwhile, Smaepdii is heading down to the Feymarch after validating his seed. And we'll be getting that Bahamut summon and the news that there are no sirens down in the Feymarch, or anywhere in the underground.
Yeah, this won't necessarily be great news. Now, here's the thing. There's still a possibility here for Smaepdii to come from behind, because keep in mind, Revenant has not finished his checks. I mean, he's doing his grind and then probably going to do the vanilla white spear, which, that's fine. That's all well and good. You're making the checks so that you're always making progress towards the end. But it's also possible that that won't necessarily be needed depending on what we find in our other key item locations.
Yeah. If those Sheila checks have either the Adamant or the Baron key, Smaepdii is not out of this.
Oh, and thank you, Free Enterprise, for the raid. Thank you guys so much. We're in a great match. We'll get you run down here on what's happening in a second. But as a reminder, please do not spoil the race that you came from. Some of us like to go back and watch those others. Meanwhile, we're in a race. Smaepdii versus Revenant. Smaepdii has had some kind of unfortunate luck going through here. It was a hook route. They were required to go through the underground, and there is a karate man who was at the Rubicon spot. Revenant, of course, had a Cecil that he picked up. There were 2 Cecils that were available throughout the first part of the race. So Revenant breezed through the hook route. Meanwhile, Smaepdii dismissed all of his Cecils, or opted not to pick them up. Kind of. We'll get to that. So he had a little bit more difficult time getting through that. The other issue with Smaepdii is that he had a very unfortunate clip through the Mist Village accidentally. You know, that wonderful little, it's not a bug, but when you step off of a brand new launched airship or hovercraft or anything like that, and you accidentally can walk over a town. Yeah, he did that through to the other side of Mist Village when we had the package. So he couldn't just walk back through the village the long way. He was forced to go through a cutscene.
Yeah. So, otherwise, I mean, the runners are pretty, other than that time difference from that longer karate fight and the unfortunate sitting through that package cutscene, the runners have been pretty much making the same checks overall. Smaepdii just now finding his darkness crystal from the sylphs, and we'll see if he decides to set up his grind before checking Sheila, or if he will return the pan to Sheila and see if Sheila has the goods after some shopping in Dwarf Castle.
Yeah, the one thing that Smaepdii does have going for him is he does have that edge. Now, Revenant is doing his D-Machine fight, and it's a perfectly fine grind. It's a decent level at this point in time to be able to do so. The thing is, Smaepdii with that edge will be able to steal sirens if he so chooses from the tower, which might be a little bit easier of a grind depending on how much longer Revenant decides to go through. More importantly, if Smaepdii is able to completely avoid having to do that vanilla white spear, because we're just looking for a couple key items at this point. We still need the Baron key and we still need the Adamant, but that's it.
Oh, and it looks like Smaepdii is heading to the tower, either just making a play to steal some sirens, or might be potentially heading up to do Kiwa's tower, although it looks like he's beelining it right for that chest to get some sirens.
Oh, and Smaepdii. Okay, Smaepdii is killing off his party members with the explicit desire to just kind of fill up everything with just nothing but ensuring that his edge can just steal and steal.
Yeah. It makes sense to kill all the other party members since all you want to do is steal, and remembering to cure up edge before starting stealing, because when you fail your steal, you can take up to 4 points of damage, which doesn't sound like a lot, as we see 4 damage, but if you're at 1 HP, that's going to kill you. And as people are pointing out in chat, having Porum up here might actually be a good idea, since Porum's Cry ability, instead of doing what it's supposed to do, increases Edge's chance to steal. Despite the fact that Porum and Edge will never be in the party together in the vanilla game.
What? Really?
Yeah. Final Fantasy IV is coded very weirdly, but we love it.
I love this early 90s computer programming, guys. It's flawless.
Well, our runners are both... Well, Revenant is doing his grind, and Smaepdii is stocking up on the items he needs to do his grind. I'd like to give a huge shout out to our restreamers, Zoe Vermillion, and our tracker, Bad Karma, for all the work they do behind the scenes, and give them a follow. And big shout outs to our runners for putting on this race, and shout outs to you, Vitasia, for joining me in the commentary booth.
You as well, Xenocat. It's always a pleasure. I honestly, I don't think you and I have worked together before on a race, so it's great to check another name off of my list. If we have, I apologize. They all blend together at a point.
Yeah, I don't think we've worked together either, so it's nice to work with you. Smaepdii getting the value out of that trap chest finds a Murasame. That is going to be a huge damage boost for that edge. And looks like it just was a trip for Sirens, is going to be heading back to the overworld to see if he follows in Revenant's footsteps and raises that big whale, or if he goes and turns in that pan and talks to Sheila and sees if Sheila has the goods, and it looks like that's where he's going.
Now, this is new information that we're getting from Smaepdii's side. Revenant saw that darkness crystal and immediately, like, he checked his shops, and then he said, I'm not even checking Sheila. On his way up to the moon and did those shop checks up there, and then faded Sheila up to this point in time. Was really kind of curious to see that, given that he was only 1 item away from go mode. So this will be excellent information from Smaepdii.
Well, there's a defense sword that he skipped on earlier, and an earth crystal.
Oh, boy, are we? Are we going to get to do it?
Are we going to get to play our favorite game?
Our new favorite game. I'm actually really hyped. I'm sincerely hoping that
Yeah, I mean, at this point, with the defense sword, is going to be amazing for that cane. That equalizes the defense sword that Revenant pulled earlier from the back of Baron. Smaepdii selling the Thunder Claws. I guess not planning on doing any more Thunder Elemental damage. Or Lightning Element damage. With Edge. Oh no, has one more. Never mind, just sold it.
And I also sold it.
Oh well. I mean, the Thunderclaw doesn't even sell for that much.
It doesn't. It's probably worth keeping around, just in case you run into a rude Dr. Bugay somewhere. Meanwhile, Revenant finishes his grind. I did not see what levels he's up to, but
he's looking Zeromus ready.
Is enough.
And it looks like Smaepdii is heading for that treasure.
Yeah.
Great!
That treasury!
Great! That treasury!
That's alright. I'll take the ninja sword.
Ninja sword, protect ring.
It's like
eh,
that's like
yeah, but
5 out of 10-ish.
uh,
It's
I,
alright.
I tend to agree with chat. 3 out of 10. Like, protect ring is nice. Ninja sword is nice, but you already have like a long end of Murasame, so it's not overly impressive.
The Moon
compared to
Veil
what
is
you already have.
also a really nice find there. And that tiara from the bonus treasury doesn't hurt.
You convinced me. I'll bump mine up to a 4 of 10, but I can't. That's as high as I go. That was. Sorry, I'm
like-
too used to rating Hype Cave.
Looks like Revenant has returned to the blue planet and has decided to turn in these Sheila checks. We'll see what he decides to do. If he's going to head over to that treasury or make some other check. And it looks like Smaepdii has decided it's his turn to raise the big whale.
Meanwhile, Revenant also going through here, so we're going into round 2 of
Great Vast Treasury!
Okay, we don't have to. I guess we don't have to be like super excited for the second round. I suppose.
I mean, we've already seen what's in this treasury. One thing I did miss that first time, is that cat claw. And the ninja star. Those are going to sell for a lot of money. Especially since we don't have that young. And, well, the ninja star can be used as a dart. It's like 25,000 gold. You probably want the gold. It looks like Revenant is headed up Zot, which Smaepdii has decided not to do and decided to head to the moon straight away. Now, Smaepdii has not done a grind yet, so we'll see if he's maybe thinking about doing sirens on the moon or checking some shops.
You know, at this point, I think Smaepdii has hourglasses and enough sirens. Probably going to be looking, just coffins and star veils up on the moon. I can imagine doing a King Ryu fight, at least just to get up to decent levels before trying that vanilla white spear altar.
Yeah. Looks like it's going to at least check this character first. Actually, with that cat claw from the treasury, this Yang becomes a lot more tempting, although has already sold all the thunder claws.
Yeah, I don't know about. I think I would have probably kept it.
You know what DOS a thunderclaw would be great against?
You mean this Dr. Luge right here?
Yep. I mean, unfortunately, Revenant has not found that edge on Hobbs. Never went up Hobbs, so never found the ninja, and Smaepdii, unsurprisingly, ditching that Yang. So, won't be able to take advantage of the thunder weakness, but Quake should still take care of this spot fairly easily. And it looks like Smaepdii is diving right into this lunar subterrane.
I like it. I really like this play. I mean, I think he knows he's behind, so he's going to. I imagine he's going to check for a freebie fight first before he even does the grind, because that's what you do when you feel behind.
Yeah, he's probably going to check for a freebie fight, get some experience, take out the objective, the vanilla white spear objective, just see what that is, see if he can't get double value from that. Because what some runners might like to do is leave the white spear altar for last, you know? it's an objective. You may as well leave it for last as you're on your way down to the lunar subterranean to go fight Threemus. But if that White Spear Altar has value, that could put the ball back into Smaepdii's court.
And we have a Vanilla Rosa available that we save being trapped. The superior white mage is found.
Well, let's see if Revenant takes this white mage. I mean, I'm not sure I would after doing the grind. And, ditching that Rosa. So it looks like Revenant's plan is to not use a white mage for this seed.
That's, I'm gonna call that grassy.
Yeah, I mean, Tella sort of counts, I guess.
Does it though?
Although I don't know what Tella is sticking around for, given that he's already done the
Free
demon
fight!
thing.
Free fight!
Oh my goodness, this is a free Darkness fight. All he needs is to get an hourglass off, and this fight becomes completely free.
Oh no, I think they got another round of attacks queued up. So he's gonna take a death anyway, but he'll be able to tackle that a second time.
Yeah, and meanwhile on Revenant's side, we saw another free fight just absolutely get destroyed at the top of Zod. And it looks like Smaepdii has decided to do at least one Siren before taking on that White Spear Altar.
Probably wants a little bit more HP to be able to survive. I respect it. So I did not happen to see what the key item was that was awarded from Tower of Zod, but nothing new is lit up, so I'm going to trust our wonderful tracking team that nothing.
It looks like people are saying it's a Moon Veil, which is our second Moon Veil of the seed. Probably not worth going through the whole Tower of Zot to get, but it's a very useful item.
See, and Revenant and Smaepdii are both showing us two different schools of thought when it comes to running this particular randomizer when we're in the position that we're at. They both know that they're only one key item away from go mode. Revenant is going for efficiency. He can do 2 checks here in the Dwarf Castle at the same time and say, hey, I have better odds of getting whatever the key items are by doing this. Smaepdii, meanwhile, is saying, one of the other objectives that we've already had unlocked is open and available to me. I'm going to do that because if I get my key item there, I've saved a lot of time from not doing anything extra. So there's 2 different schools of thought, 2 different decisions in this particular routing, and that, I think, is what makes this tournament so exciting. With the 3 of 4 objectives to complete, it creates these really interesting routing decisions that you have to make mid-game.
Yeah. I think we got a whole bunch of levels off that last double Lord Dragon fight. This is worth a lot of experiences, up into the mid-30s already. I would say he probably only needs 1 more. Meanwhile, Revenant getting through that Asura fight, we'll see who the character is at this Dwarf Castle.
Bad Karma says, here's the fun part. If Revenant finds the Adamant and Smaepdii finds the key. There's another Rosa. And they both ditch Rosa. My goodness. At that point, advantage is Revenant because Revenant has his levels at this point in time.
Yeah. Smaepdii still needs to get some levels, but I mean, getting 90,000 experience per fight here is up to stone on Palin.
Well, Revenant does finish his check, so Smaepdii finishes his quick grind, so is going to get himself set up at this point in time to do that free fight one more time and make sure everything gets off now. Revenant is going to show us what these 2 key items are. Now, yeah, normally there's only 1 key item available here in the Dwarf Castle, but we do enable kind of one of the most infamous vanilla glitches in this game, the Dwarf Castle glitch. And Xenocat, are you familiar with how this works in the background, and can you explain it?
Vaguely. So basically, the developers, when they were designing that crystal room that we have those 2 fights in, reused the crystal room from the end of the sealed cave. So you can use the warp glitch to get the item from the sealed cave, which in this case is the Baron key, which puts Revenant in go mode. And then when you leave that room, you come right back here to Dwarf Castle. And now you don't have to do the sealed cave.
And the pass. He doesn't even have to go up to the moon anymore.
Well,
Wow.
he still has to go to the moon because he has to go take care of that light spear altar, but I mean, but that pass is, unless Smaepdii finishes this and then runs to Dwarf Castle, sprints to Dwarf Castle, I think this is Revenant's race to lose.
And remember, this is an elimination match out of the Magma route with a win and just an Avenger sword over on Smaepdii, so not rewarded for coming up here and checking first. With a win, Revenant does continue to move on and will be part of the second group race in the Magma route. A loss here between these two, and that's it. You're done. No more tournament for you, and just lots of work behind the scenes. So we won't hear the last of Smaepdii, I'm sure.
Yeah, looks like Smaepdii is heading into the ribbon room. Could still find the adamant up here, but doesn't look like he wants to take that Ogopogo fight.
Now that looks disgusting. So Smaepdii is going to continue to search up here on the moon since he's already up here. If he doesn't find adamant up here relatively soon, we know that this is going to be kind of a huge waste of time, unfortunately. So all of you guys who are hoping for a Smaepdii comeback, send all of your hopes and dreams and thoughts all his direction, because he needs it right now. And there's a free water hag on the Masamune spot. All the free bosses on the moon.
This is very good news if this ends up being adamant, but even then, Smaepdii would still have to go down to the blue planet, forge the Excalibur, and then come back up to the moon and walk through the whole lunar subterranean. Whereas Revenant, with that pass in hand, could, after taking the White Spear Altar, exit out, fly back to the blue planet, and take the pass door in Troya for very quick Z access.
So I'm not going to give it. And there's the adamant.
Oh my god!
He has a chance.
He does have a chance.
Here's the thing. I'm not gonna give this to Revenant for free. It's an hour 9 in. It's relatively early on, and you feel the pressure to do go mode. He has no sirens, none whatsoever. His grind is done unless he finds and fights some more of these bosses for some free XP. I don't know, and he also has no healer. I haven't seen him pick up any sort of Cure 3s or anything like that, and all he has is a Tella. This is not a free Z fight for Revenant at this point in time. Smaepdii is not ideal, still needs some levels, but at least has a Pora.
Yeah, although looks like he's on his last hourglass, so.
Okay, Zoe is saying that, look, they remember Revenant picking up some Cure 3s in the rule, and that's possible. It's still not free, though. Cure 3 through Threemus is, shall we say, not easy.
Yeah. The fight is definitely doable without a white mage, but it becomes a lot riskier and a lot harder when you don't have someone who can pump out those party-wide Cure 4s.
And
And
Smaepdii is
looks like-
getting double life glitches on King Ryu's. Wow.
Yeah. And looks like Revenant only has 5 of those Cure 3 potions, so... won't be able to heal up that many people. And that Palom is definitely a few levels shy of Nuke, so probably won't have access to Nuke. Especially without an anchored Cecil. This is looking like a little bit of a dicey Z fight.
Alright, so it's really going to come down to... Oh my goodness. I mean, this is going to be close. No matter how you dice it, it's going to be close.
Yeah, they're gonna get through these Dark Imps, no problem, with a stone from Tella. I mean, Tella does have a lot of HP, will probably survive a nerfed Big Bang. And gets that Avenger Sword, which will be very helpful for either that Kane or that Cecil.
Oh. Those King Ryus were not wanting to let Tella get that weak cast off, but he does get it.
And all these life potions going off at the wrong time, unfortunately. So only going to get a single life glitch. Which is still
Darn.
quite good.
So it does look like Revenant is making a beeline for Threemus, which begs us to a very important question that we're not going to meme too hard here. That I'm a little bit surprised you guys haven't started already. Whose butt are we going to kick tonight? Threemus, when he reveals his true form, one of the wonderful little Easter eggs that we have as part of this randomizer community. His true form is going to be one of more than 400 different sprites that are curated by the community and adding to it all the time, just for the lulz.
As you see, Revenant entering his Z fight, Smaepdii is headed back to the blue planet. I believe is out of Sirens, so it might be going to steal some more and take care of Forge well in the area, or might just be taking care of Forge and then be heading right back up.
Well, and the interesting thing is Smaepdii does not have the pass, so we'll have to go back up to the moon regardless. Just a matter of if he picks up any more Sirens along the way, although the Cocal Shop theoretically has a small chance of having them. Meanwhile, Threemus' true form, Carmen Sandiegomas!
Well, that answers the question. Another question that Zoe's fighting on the chat. We have found Carmen Sandiego. We don't need to ask the question where in the world she is.
Man, that theme song is a banger. Low key.
It truly is.
Although, yeah, Trino makes a good point in chat. She's not in the world.
She is not in the world. She is deep in the lunar subterrane. Cecil taking the counter nuke, but gets the Cure 3 off before the Big Bang. Tella looks like isn't having too much trouble surviving that, although not sure how much Tella's Cure 4 is going to do. Alright. Okay, that's most of the damage.
If you can nerf every single Big Bang character, Tella
And-
might be doable.
Yeah, and devoting that Palom to restoring Tella's MP, I mean, gonna need some high rolls on those Ether ones to keep Tella's MP stocked up if Tella's gonna be Cure 4ing.
Phineas asked, where in the world is our white mage? We've ditched 2 roses this seed. One was available in the Earth Tower in a vanilla location. The other one, I believe, was available in Dwarf Castle as well. And Revenant ditched both.
And also, important to note, turned down a Porum in Mysidia, which Smaepdii happily took along. Yeah, turned down that Porum before grinding, so...
Yeah, and that's
Oof.
a rough big
And that's
bang.
That is a very rough Big Bang. Only Kane and Cecil Kane and Sid left standing.
Got Tella up. Doesn't have enough MP to cast even Cure 4. Oof.
Ooh. Yeah. Meanwhile, Smaepdii has found the second chest also as a trap chest, and has picked up a couple more sirens, which should probably be enough to get him all the levels he wants, and is now... looks like... swapping airships.
Oh, gonna go pick up some more hourglasses at this point in time.
Yep, makes
concerned
sense.
Yeah.
Definitely want more hourglasses for those double gold dragons. And Revenant takes a wipe, unfortunately. Just takes a reset. We'll see what changes he makes. Looks like he's trying to knock down Cecil's agility a bit. Although with that Dwarf Axe, that'll knock him down to 26, which is a
not a
little
good
bit
one.
too low.
See, if he had a ninja hat and then just gained 1 or 2 more levels on Cecil, his ninja hat is +3 agility. I've done a lot of manipulation recently with Cecil, and just having the equipment necessary to be able to play with it there at the right level
Yeah.
is nice.
Well, even the Ninja Hat and that Dwarf Axe wouldn't be terrible in combination.
That's a net -2, so you can kind of play.
Yeah, that would put him right at 29. Although, considering Revenant's party is made up mostly of slow characters, having a fast Cecil isn't necessarily what you want.
All right, so tried to reorganize things. Revenant round 2 against Zero Miss. Carmen San Diego Miss. Smaepdii, meanwhile, not getting there quite as fast, but making sure to set up the grind to do it right.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, I respect what Smaepdii is doing. Not going in there. Not that Revenant doesn't know what he's doing, but I do think he's not in a good agility situation to plan necessarily ahead of time quite as well as Smaepdii is doing, and that might allow Smaepdii to really snatch victory from the jaws of defeat here. We'll see.
Looks like Smaepdii also picked up a Stardust Rod for that Palom somewhere, so if Smaepdii ends up grinding up to nuke, that Palom is going to be doing some serious damage to this Zeromus. Bad Karma saying it was from Coco's shop.
Yeah, the Cocoa Shop had some interesting stuff. The Stardust Rod, I think I saw Protect Rings there as well. And I saw that Protect Ring go on his Porum. So Porum is decently equipped, may be able to survive some things. Still want Porum to be able to get up to reasonable levels at this point in time. Still has the Tella, I believe, to serve as that agility anchor. Because Smaepdii does not have that Cecil, is not forced to use Cecil as the agility.
Yeah. And having that Tella with that curse string as the agility anchor is definitely going to put Smaepdii in a much better position once he gets into his sea fight.
Oh, thank you, Justin MVP, with the raid. Appreciate you.
Unfortunately, the first counter nuke hitting Tella and knocking him down. Revenant does manage to get him up after the first Big Bang, but it's gonna be... This fight's already off to a rough start.
Looks like we got double lives going again on Smaepdii's side. Just really impressive the way he's setting that up right at the moment.
Yeah, that double life switch is really going to help get all the experience possible from this fight. I believe that gets this fight up to, without 10 key items, 120,000, which is really solid.
There's Cure 4 for his Forum. Palom also learns weak now, so
Yeah.
can
So
continue.
And no need to get that Tella back up at this point. Palom can take over the role of weakening these gold dragons down. Ooh, and Revenant getting the HP ran out text on that Palom, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's going to be rough. Looks like has Sid kind of stepping up to play Alchemist right now. Otherwise, just hoping that Tella survives. Trying to set up, looks like, a nerf to this Big Bang.
And unfortunately, Sid eating the counter nuke, although Sid will be able to take it. But looks like he's on his last Cure 3 potion.
It's going to be tight. This is kind of what, this elimination match does for runners. It forces you to do some things that you're probably not comfortable with. I got to imagine Revenant is not necessarily comfortable. I don't think anyone is necessarily comfortable pulling these kind of low percent strats right now. And the viruses come out. That's a...
and knocks down Sid and Tella. That's gonna hurt.
Yeah, virus...
and I believe the other two are zerked up, and so they're not gonna be able to do anything.
No, that virus script only comes out when you're not doing enough damage to push, is when that ends up coming out. So you have to have a certain amount.
Yeah. Looks like did get the tip before the black hole, but I think this next Big Bang is gonna wipe. And there it goes.
This is amazing. Meanwhile, Smaepdii finishing his grind, looks like early 50s level is what I'm seeing on that Porum. Not great in terms of HP, but as long as you manage things, is very, very doable at this point in time with these levels.
Yeah, looks like stopped at Nuke and White. Just wanted to get those spells online, and with a Tiara and a Protect Ring, Porum should be fine.
Yeah, Tiara, one of those strange pieces of equipment because it raises magic attack power, so it's really designed for someone like Meridia. But the other ladies can also equip it as well, which makes it a great piece of defense gear. Doesn't necessarily help with their white magic casting and healing, but does do a fantastic job against those big bangs.
And our runners are almost synced up. Revenant getting into this third Z attempt just a little bit before Smaepdii. His first fight, but Smaepdii's fight is looking pretty secure. He's got a good anchor, he has a white mage, and he's got a kid with nuke online.
Absolutely. It's kind of been the story of this entire race. Smaepdii has been more purposeful in setting up his party. Revenant, I'm not going to say got lucky with the karate fight being where it was and that gatekeep to get to the underground, but certainly with that Cecil, it's a double-edged sword at that point in time. Absolutely got through that particular fight and has great equipment at this point in time. But yeah, managing the agility has really played havoc on Revenant. And then, the lack of a true white mage has really made this difficult as well.
Yeah.
Things are set up. Doing a Star Veil on the Porum, meanwhile, is also setting up the Silk Web in order to slow Z down.
And on Smaepdii's side, I don't think he minds too much if Kella takes that counter nuke.
I assumed that was the plan all along. It's like, oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, Smaepdii getting that Avenger glitch set up on Kayn, throwing that X-Cal for 8,300 damage.
Does he still have the spoon as well?
I guess he does. That was a little bit of a high roll on Porum. Does have a stack of Tier 3s though, a healthy stack, much larger than Revenant's, so Porum should be able to be perfectly fine.
Yeah, Smaepdii is set up quite well at this point. It would take kind of an unfortunate series of events at this point in time. Has plenty of things to dart for edge, lots of high-level equipment, but does have to be careful. 1,700 health, has good equipment, but a high roll Big Bang can still take her out.
Yeah, even with her great magic defense, Porum could very easily go down to one of these Big Bangs. Although, not zerking up anyone else but Kayn will probably be able to get her back up and recover.
Meanwhile, a Revenant on round 3. Looks like Tella is fighting for his life at this point. Got brought up, is casting a Cure 4, so trying to get the rest of the party back up and online.
Edge just continuing to throw out all of the weapons that Smaepdii's gathered throughout this seed. And looks like, I think, threw the defense sword and is now focusing up. And I've used up all of the really strong weapons to dart, and is going to be zerking up alongside Kayn. And Revenant takes another reset, unfortunately.
You know, we've all been there at certain points in our randomizer careers where we think we're ready and we go and fight Z and we realize, oh no, I was not ready. So he is noping out, and after third fight says, no, there's no done yet. I need to go and get some levels so that I can adjust this agility, because he's tried every way at this point in time. Got to appreciate this particular chance. There's a ton of experience available if he just goes down to the Masamune. That's
Yeah.
free experience that we know about.
Nopes out of that Ogo at the winners. Can't blame him. Ogo is extremely rude without a proper late mage. And we have rocks falling on Smaepdii's side, but those HP values are not looking great. Only Kane standing.
It's gonna be close.
Yeah. This is a very close fight. And
Oh no!
oh no.
Oh, rip!
Oh! And Smaepdii takes away. Carmenmus is 4-0 against our runners.
Yeah, that was a high roll, big bang on
Right in the
Bora.
medio.
Ooh.
Looks like Smaepdii is going to give this another try. Makes sense. Got very unlucky with that high roll big bang right into medio.
Yeah, it was really tragic. So he understands. He knows the count that it was an unlucky roll and not just a function of the agility at that point in time. So absolutely gonna dive in again.
With a Cursed Ring Tella as your anchor and having 2 Zerkers, a Palom with Nuke, and a Porum with White, you don't really feel like you need levels at that point. At that point, it's just bad luck. Meanwhile, Revenant looks like took a Behemoth fight as a trap chest and is getting ready to maybe check the Crystal Sword altar?
I think he's looking for some XP at some point, and this is a lower X hit point spot, so he's hoping that this is going to be easy one way or the other.
Yeah, and that is not easy.
That is alt
What
god.
looks like no, yeah. That is a very long alt gauntlet and a very rude alt gauntlet. Revenant noping right out of that.
Yep.
Totally don't blame him. Fatalize. I don't care what people say about alt gauntlet at Ogopogo. Alt gauntlet at the Crystal Sword altar is worse.
Yeah, that Fatal Eye is surprisingly rude right off the bat.
Yeah, Fatal Eyes have a ridiculous amount of HP for an enemy. I think on par with some of the moon bosses, and they cast single target count, and they eat some. It's just they're very, very rude. Looks like might be heading to the Ogopogo spot to see if that's a free boss, and will be rewarded with that water hag and that sweet experience if he does check it, which looks like he is going to. Meanwhile, Smaepdii back in this Carmenus fight. Bouncing a white this time.
Hey, just
for
push it all the damage.
Yeah, I mean, realizes he just needs a little bit more damage early on, and that extra 8,000 damage from that wipe could come in handy, especially since he doesn't really need to heal up at this point.
Okay, so there's the first big bang for Smaepdii on this point. Revenant, meanwhile, went back to save. He's in the mid-50s now at this point. Probably feeling a little bit better.
Yeah, still a level shy of Nuke on Palom, but is probably not worried about using Palom for Nuke.
Oh, he wiped on water now.
Oh. I mean, with fair agility, Water Hag is quite fast at this spot, and will punch a lot.
Oh, he reset because Palom died, because he wants to make sure Palom gets the XP. He is one level short of Palom getting Nuke, and he wants to make sure he can cast Nuke.
Yeah, being able to cast Nuke is good, although Tela missing is not doing any favors.
Missing in that middle spot, too. That's rude.
To be fair, he is in the back row, and not back row good. But Revenant gets through the Water Hag, this time with all of his party members alive. Gets Nuke on that Palom. And finds that Adamant. You know, even though it is not required, could still go back and forge that Excal, because I believe his Cecil is still wielding a lightsaber.
Yeah, looks like he's going to do it. He's exiting out. Wow. It's not as bad of a time sink as you would think, because he does have the pass, so he can restart his Z fight right from the Earth.
I think it would be a much harder decision to go back for this Excal if he did not have the pass, but with that pass in hand, he does not have to walk through the Lunar Subterrane again. We'll be able to head underground, forge that Excal, and then head right over to Toroya to head through the pass door and be back in that Z fight fairly quickly.
And
although
Flash!
We have the Flash on Smaepdii's side. GG's Smaepdii, the winner of this race with an official time of 1 hour, 37 minutes, and 36 seconds.
That was just a fantastic race, just textbook there by Smaepdii, showing that, you know, sometimes it's not the first person to get to Threemus, you gotta be able to kill him too. Great planning overall by Smaepdii. We'll see if he is available to join us for a chat.
While we're waiting, looks like Revenant has forged his Excal and is going to be checking out this Coco shop. And it looks like we are joined by Smaepdii. GG's, Smaepdii.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
How fast was your heart beating there towards the end?
I tried to measure it, but my blood pressure gauge just said call a hospital immediately. Just dial spinning every direction. It was madness.
That was just an amazing piece of catch up. I really look forward to hearing your reaction when you watch this back, because Revenant beat you to Threemus, like by a solid 10 minutes or so.
Whew. Yeah, we were chatting a little bit after the race, and apparently it was just kind of a team comp thing. So, I mean, Rando's gonna rando, I guess. I mean, I won't deny that luck is a significant part of the game sometimes.
Yeah, I think a lot of the main difference is you went ahead and checked Mount Hobbs and found Edge. He did not, so never had Edge and kept a Cecil the entire time. Now that made his quest underground kind of much easier than you because of that karate fight. So while you struggled through that a little bit and it took a little bit longer and he breezed through it, so he was in kind of a commanding lead for most of it.
Yeah, I knew from the get-go that I was playing from behind, which I don't know, at least when you're playing from behind, you kind of know what you need to do. It kind of makes you zero in on strategies a bit. But when I saw that Yang was guarding the underground passage and I'd already given up on Cecil, I knew I was going to be from behind from there on. I didn't follow my own advice, which is always bet on Cecil. But when I was presented with a team of Edge, Kane, Palom, Porum, I just couldn't pass that up because that was an endgame team right there with Tela already tailor-made to anchor. So I just had to stick with that. Then I had the other problems too. I don't know if you saw when I went to go turn in the Threemus check. I accidentally stepped over over mist.
Yeah,
And
there was no commentary whatsoever about what the heck happened there and how you were going to react. Not that we didn't.
Yeah, I tried. I tried to do the mist skip glitch from the vanilla Final Fantasy 4 speed run, but never done it before, so it didn't work. I saw it in a video once. I figured, how hard could this be? Yeah, it didn't work. So I just had to sit there and eat the cutscene, and yeah, that was just kind of added to the whole. Okay, I am absolutely playing from behind. As soon as I find this darkness crystal, I'm committing fully to Moon. It's Moon or bust from now on, and well, it got me there a roundabout way, but it did it.
Yeah, tell me about the elation that you felt when it was Water Hag at Masamune. First of all, free fight in the dark imps at the crystal white lance spot, and then the Water Hag at Masamune, which had the adamant, which was your go mode. Like, what was going through your mind there?
Honestly, it came as a shock. I had to do a double check at the key item because my mind was already in. Because I'd checked the ribbon room and it was Ogopogo. So my mind was already, how am I going to do this Ogopogo fight? Because I can't leave this Ogopogo fight behind. Wait, did that say adamant? Oh, that says adamant. Oh, never mind. Never mind all of the thinking I just did. Let's just go.
Yeah, I mean, it was just such a fantastic race, and it was really interesting because, Revenant, I mean, just ended up turning. He went and finally started hunting for some XP because he never had Edge, never found Sirens, so he did his D Machine grind. But once he found that his Cecil was at kind of a weird agility spot, he started hunting around and found that Water Hag just a second ago and decided to, hey, I'll go ahead and go turn this in to get my Cecil and X-Scout.
Yeah, I was thinking about that D Machine grind too, but since I had the Edge, I had access to the Sirens, and Hourglasses were in Evelyn Cave, and I knew I was going to commit to the Moon anyway. I really had my heart set on the Gold Machine, or the Gold Dragon grind from the get-go. So I was really kind of resisting the allure of that of the D Machine grind, and yeah, especially if I had Cecil, just because it's kind of unpredictable what level you're going to end up as, and so if you're, that I can definitely see how that causes problems, because gosh, having the wrong agility in Zeromus could just be so nasty.
And then I also wanted to ask, this was effectively an elimination match for you guys. Did you go into the race committing yourself to doing anything different that you normally do, knowing that it was an elimination match, that it was do or die, that you had to do something different to make sure you moved on?
Initially, yeah. I was just kind of thinking the whole time, I want to keep my options open. I want to, look for the play that others might not think of, whether it's, the Keyless Tower or something like that. Just having something there where at some point I can go, okay, I think my opponent's going to do this, I'm going to do this instead. But that I kind of quickly discarded that once I had kind of that series of errors early on that really kind of felt like I was behind. So at that point it was like, okay, what's the fastest way that's going to get me to the most checks that I can get a grind in on the way? And that ended up being Moon. So that was kind of my thing. It was at that point, okay, this is for the tournament. If there better be a key item up there. Thankfully there was, so it worked out.
Xenocat, I apologize. I've been dominating the questions for this interview. Did you want to ask anything at this point in time?
I can't think of anything in particular, but, well, besides maybe, did you consider going and picking up that package Cecil after seeing that karate for a second?
I had considered it. Yeah. It was in the back of my mind during that whole cutscene. I was like, I can back out. I can grab the Cecil. We can do it. But then I figured, no. I feel strong enough. I should just be able to power through. Let's just do it, and then I don't have to worry about agility shenanigans because those have kind of plagued me. My last race, I had a lot of trouble with Zeromus because I just wasn't at the right relative agility, and it's been kind of a a theme for my races through the tournament. So like, no, I'm in a comfortable position now. Let's abandon the Cecil and just keep going with what we got.
I think that's it for me.
Awesome. So I guess, last question then. How you feeling now? 2-1. You know you're moving forward to that second play-in race. What's on your mind now?
Somewhere between fear and terror, somewhere in there. There are just so many excellent runners that are going to be a part of this play-in race. I'm just kind of honored to even be among them at this point. If I get through, then excellent. Get to the tables, that would be absolutely amazing. I'm honestly shocked I've managed to get as far as I have. I've just been up against some absolutely incredible runners. Revenant is a fantastic player, and just had the dice fallen a little bit, it'd be him going onto the table. So I'm just kind of in awe of that, and I'm just going to put my nose to the grindstone, get as many practice races in, and hope we can pull it off.
Yeah, and while we were conducting that interview, Revenant has finished his Z fight. Has finished this seed with an official time of 1 hour, 46 minutes, and 35 seconds. GG's to you, Revenant.
Thank you.
So this, the most of this race, I mean, it was really interesting because both you and Smaepdii had varying decisions that you both did. You had your grind much earlier. You had, you kept Cecil, which ended up making the karate fight to get to the underground much easier. But that also ended up being a bit of a double-edged sword because of Cecil's agility there at the end really was causing some havoc.
Yeah, that's for sure. I was just, I guess, trying to sort of go with whatever the seed threw at me in order to keep the accelerator down to full, and kind of bit me in the end there.
I'm a bit curious because I know you had already done your grind, and I understand that, but you also didn't have a white mage really other than Tella, and there were 2 different roses I think at different points in time that you abandoned at some point. Did that cause you any sort of regret just because of how much easier that would have made things a little bit down the road, or were you committed to just rolling with what you had and going?
Yeah, I sort of committed to what I had since I checked all the gated shops and saw that sirens weren't available, and I didn't know what the fights were going to be like up on the moon. So I just said, you know what, I'm gonna roll with this, and I'm gonna try and make it work.
Well, and the rough part is, sirens weren't available in any shops. But the real difference was Smaepdii very early on went and checked Mount Hobbs, which did have edge. So while there wasn't any sirens available in shops, Smaepdii went hunting 2 separate times actually into the Tower of Zot to be able to steal those from the alerts.
Yeah, I was just kind of melting through all the checks, and I kind of felt like I was really behind, so I sort of made the decision early on to just fade Hobbs and kind of keep running forward with what I had. I was definitely hoping to see an edge, but by the time I was done with the commission, I figured, well, it's a little late now.
I mean, you were ahead for most of that seed. I mean, you were definitely... I think you were through the hook route before Smaepdii even got into the hook route, and without that Cecil, that hook route took a little bit longer, so I think you had raised the big whale by the time Smaepdii was going underground.
Wow.
Yeah, it really kind of looked like you were in command, but again, that Carmen San Diego miss went 4 for 2 against this party this time. Even Smaepdii took a wipe at some point or had to reset out. Was kind of, I felt that you both felt the pressure of this being an elimination match, and you were just kind of rolling with what you had and hoping for the best, and it not necessarily playing out the way you wanted.
Oh yeah, for sure. With every wipe, I was kind of turning my eyes to the race chat, looking for his dot done, kept not coming. So at that point, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go look for a few more levels, and then finally I get around to checking that Ogo Pogo spot, and boy, was I kicking myself after that.
Yeah, that's how Smaepdii actually, that was his third objective. He never found the Baron key, didn't do Dwarf Castle at all. So that was really interesting. It was a really interesting race, and it looked like yours to command. That adamant at that location with 3 fights there and at the Vanilla White Spear location, because the Dark Amps were like, oh, it's a race all of a sudden. And my goodness, it was just really interesting to watch, and I think highlighted one of the interesting things about this entire tournament up to this point in time is having multiple objectives and not having to complete them all really sets things up to allow for someone to come from behind like that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I had a real good time with this flag set.
Well, and with that, any last minute thoughts, Smaepdii, if he's still around, or Revenant, on this, this race or this tournament as we get set to wrap up here for the rest of the night?
If I could talk your ear off for a second, I'd like to say big thank you to big shout out to the entire free enterprise community. I just started playing, after the Fabul Gauntlet wrapped up. I just fell in love with the randomizer by watching it, and to have come this far after having just started, it's a big testament to how helpful the community's been and giving advice and everything. And I'm glad I could put on a good show with it, and hopefully next tournament I'll make it into the tables.
And maybe a little disconnected from the tournament, but I did want to give one quick shout out to special someone in chat. My SO something or other just went through a gender reassignment surgery today, so really thrilled about that, and really glad they could be out here to cheer me on despite all the intense pain. So love you, sweetheart.
Aw, we all love you. And that's what being part of a community is about, supporting each other, ultimately. So all the love to Smaepdii and your partner, GG's as well. Also, back to business, a big shout out to everyone who's watching this for the first time. I know we had quite a few charity tournaments and marathons recently, and interest in everything has grown. So if you want to join us, feel free to join us over on our Discord. Revenant's right. This is one of the best internet communities I've ever been a part of. So helpful, so fantastic to help everyone to be a part of. Meanwhile, let me give also one last shout out, of course, to our team behind the scenes here. We have Zoe Vermillion doing all the work with the restream. We have our wonderful tracker, Bad Karma, and of course, my wonderful, wonderful co-commentator, Xenocat. It was a pleasure working with you today.
It was a pleasure working with you too.
And with that, it appears as though we are going to be sending everyone over here to another race that is ongoing over at RPG Limit Break. Make sure to follow all of your randomizer action. Randomania, thank you so much for allowing us to host over here at the Randomania channels, RPG Limit Break, and of course our home free enterprise channel. That will do it from us, and we're going to go ahead and sign off. See you guys at the next race. Have a great rest of your night.